This is the NBC University Theater, bringing you a full-hour dramatization of Tales of Edgar Allan Poe, starring Joseph Schildkraut. We bring you one of the most extraordinary men of letters ever to put pen to paper in America. And we bring you three tales from his pen. First, Noseology, followed by The Cask of Amontillado, and finally, The Fall of the House of Usher. The author, of course, is Edgar Allan Poe, whose feverish dreams inspired tales both awesome and beautiful, tales which won for him a unique place among the greats of American literature. Here now is Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
Men have called me mad. Perhaps I am. It has never been settled, really, whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence. Let it be assumed, therefore, that I, Edgar Allan Poe, am mad, and that I'm about to entertain you with three products of my imaginative but eccentric mind. The first of these, a curtain raiser, I will entitle only A Comic Mask. Mr. Conductor, if you please, some comic music.
My name is, let's see, I believe it's Jones. Yes, that's right, Robert Jones. I am, that is to say, I was, a great man. I was born at a rather tender age in the city of Fumfudge, latitude 600, longitude 066. Perhaps you've heard of me? No? Oh, what a pity. Very well, I'll tell you about myself. When I was born, my first act in life was to take hold of my nose with both hands and pull vigorously, thus. This caused my mother, who naturally was present at my birth, to remark to my father,
Robert, look. Our boy is a genius.
My dear, I weep for joy. Believe me, I weep for joy.
Before I was 5 years old, I had chosen my career in life, namely, Noseology. I pursued it avidly. Each morning, I gave my nose a strong pull. In the science of Noseology, I soon came to understand that, provided a man had a nose sufficiently conspicuous, he might, by merely following it, arrive at a lionship, an honor much to be desired. My father, who had always been frustrated in his own ambition to become a successful mountebank, determined that I should achieve my goal. I remember distinctly how. Each evening he would help me with my exercises.
One, two, three, tweak. 1, 2, 3, tweak. 1, 2, 3, tweak. Stop, my dear boy. Now remember, these tweaking exercises give the nose plasticity, character.
Yes, Father.
Bear in mind, therefore, that the tweak must be vigorous and forthright. Thus.
Yes, Father.
Very well. We'll now practice turning up the nose contemptuously. Now observe closely, my boy. Thus. 1, 2, turn up thusly. 1, 2, contemptuously. 1, 2.
Father.
What is it, son?
Father,
Well, what's the trouble?
One day, when I had come of age, my father asked me if I would step into his study, and this I did. You wish to speak to me, Father?
My boy, it's time that you and I had a serious talk.
Yes, Father.
First of all, tell me, what is the chief end of your existence?
Why, Father, to master the science of Noseology.
That is correct, my boy. And now, can you tell me What is the exact meaning of a nose?
The exact meaning. A nose, my father, has been variously defined by some 6,000 authorities. Let's see, it is now exactly 3 minutes before 12 noon. We shall have time to get through most of the definitions, I think, before midnight. To commence, then, father. The nose, according to Bartholinius, is that protuberance, that bump, that prow which precedes a man when he's getting himself into a lot of When I had completed the last of the 6,000 definitions, my father drew me to his side and said,
My boy.
Yes, father?
Your education is finished.
Thank you, father.
It's time now for you to go out into the world and scuffle for yourself.
Yes, father.
Tell me, my boy, you know what you must do, of course.
Why, of course, father. I must always follow my nose.
Exactly, my boy. Exactly.
And so, giving my nose a pull or two right on the spot, I marched out into the streets of Fumfudge to seek my fortune. As I made my way up the main thoroughfare, astounded citizens pointed at me with admiration and respect.
Is it possible?
Unbelievable.
Mommy, look, a rhinoceros!
Who is he?
What is he?
Oh!
Ignoring these peasants, I blew my nose loudly. And continued on my way until I reached a fine-looking studio bearing a sign which read, Signor Tintintino, portrait painter to royalty by appointment to the king and by rendezvous with the queen. I stepped inside, and there was the Duchess of Bableu sitting for a portrait. Behind her stood the Marquis, holding her pet poodle. At her side stood the Earl, supporting the Marquis. At an easel stood Signors Tintintino. I approached this great artist, and slowly, very slowly turned up my nose.
Good.
Shocking.
What a nose, signore. How much you take for this nose? I must paint this nose, mamma mia.
1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds? Madre, turn to the light.
With pleasure.
Oh, I simply must touch it. May I?
Carefully, madam. This is really a very valuable piece.
you show she's quite original.
My dear Signor Tintintino, I assure you that I've raised this nose from a tiny little nostril.
Admirable. I give you 100 pounds.
Sorry, 1,000.
200.
Sorry, 1,000.
600.
Sorry, 1,000.
9.
Sorry, 1,000.
Very well.
Good.
She's done. 1,000 pounds, and I'm gonna paint her this very morning. This was indeed a stroke of genius. In a week's time, Signor Tintintino's portrait of my nose was hung in the Royal Academy. Overnight, I became a celebrity. I wrote a pamphlet on Noseology, and I sent the Queen a first edition, enclosing a reproduction of Tintintino's masterpiece. Why, the Prince of Wales invited me to dinner, and what a dinner! The people who were there, why, every one of them a lion, a giant among men. As guest of honor, I, of course, was introduced around by the Prince.
Sir P. Peridot.
Your Highness.
I should like you to meet Mr. Jones.
Not the Mr. Jones, the author of Noses That Made History?
Yes, sir, the same.
I am honored, sir. You are a man who knows his noses.
Thank you.
Sir P. is being modest. He happens to be a modern Platonist and a lion among men. He's also a lion among women.
Charming fellow, but practically no nose, your princeship, no nose.
Here's another chap I should like you to meet.
Why, gladly.
Sir Delphinius Polyglot. Sir Delphinius?
Your Highness.
I should like you to meet...
Don't tell me. Let me guess. Pinocchio.
Droll fellow.
And... Cyrano.
Hardly.
Why, then this must be the Mr. Jones.
It is.
Yes, indeed, it was quite a dinner. Even Signor Tintintino was there. He discoursed upon Latour and Chambertin. The president of Punfab University made a speech. The eminent archaeologist Ferdinand Witzelfutzelspa spoke briefly for several hours on internal fires and tertiary formations and things like that. And finally, of course, it was my turn to speak. My topic. You guessed it. I merely turned up my nose and I spoke of myself.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Clever man.
Superb, absolutely superb.
Thank you. The very next morning, Her Grace the Duchess paid me a visit in my apartments. Somewhat plump, but a charming little woman. My heart went out to her at once.
You darling creature. I know you must simply be thronged with admirers. But I said to myself, I simply must meet this fabulous man. And here I am.
Why, I'm honored, Your Grace.
Don't you think it was rather daring of me to come to your apartments, unescorted? But then, I've always been one to seize the bull by the nose.
And I have always admired a certain measure of boldness in women, Your Grace.
Oh, charming man. You simply must attend the ball I'm giving tomorrow night. You will come, pretty creature.
Ball? I'm sorry, I had promised the Queen.
The Elector of Bledinoff will be there.
The Elector of... I'm not familiar.
Not familiar with the Elector of Bledinoff?
Why, no.
Why, my dear man, he is said to have the largest nose in all the world.
Oh, Your Grace.
In Europe, at any rate.
Certainly not in England, madame. Please, observe.
I'll admit it does look rather long.
Well, it is rather long.
Of course. If you come, we can compare your nose with the Elector's and settle the controversy once and for all.
Your Grace, I shall be there.
You definitely will come?
Why, Your Grace, with all my heart.
Oh, no, Mr. Jones. With all your nose.
Yes, with all my nose. I had heard of this fellow, this Bledinoff, a pretentious boor from the Low Country. Well, next night excitement ran high at the Duchess's. The rooms were crowded to suffocation. Wagers were placed, duels challenged.
£1,000 on Bledinoff by a nose.
Taken in double.
I say Jones by 10 millimeters.
Bledinoff. Jones!
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present our distinguished guest from the Low Country, the Elector of Bledinoff. And now, the British contender, our own Mr. Jones.
Look, she's going to introduce them.
Mr. Jones, the Elector of Bledinoff.
You call that a nose? Pah!
Gentlemen, please.
Your Grace, I sincerely regret this incident, but the mosquito bite which this gentleman dignifies by the title of nose offends me.
Tausend Teufel!
Sir, may I tell you that you're a baboon?
Don und Blitzen!
That, sir, I will not countenance. Have at you. Oh, my second will call upon you in the morning, sir. There simply was no other way. His nose, alack and alas, was bigger than mine. Very well, we met next morning upon the field of honor. Our weapons, pistols at 30 paces. We faced each other. I gave my pride a twist and sounded my klaxon contemptuously. He blew his. A pitiful little blow, and the referee counted off the paces.
28, 29, 30. Fire!
Parbleu, the deed was done. I had shut off his nose. There was no one in the entire world with a nose equal my own. Ah, my pride, my joy of a nose. I returned to the palace and discovered that a reception had been prepared. Evidently, news of my victory over Blood-enough had preceded me. I entered and approached the Duchess, but when I reached to kiss her hand, alas, she snubbed me. That's all she said. Your Grace, I don't understand.
There is nothing to understand, Mr. Jones.
But haven't you heard, Your Grace? I won the duel. I shot the Elector's nose right off his face.
Your presence is no longer required.
Well, won't somebody explain you, sir, what...
Dolt.
Perhaps you, sir.
Noodle.
No, but this reception, gentlemen, for whom has it been prepared?
For whom, sir?
Yes.
For whom but the Elector of Blood-enough?
What? I was baffled. Nay, I was chagrined. My nose wilted, yet the facts were there. I had won. I was the uncontested nose champion of the entire world. Yet a reception of honor had been prepared for my defeated adversary, the Elector of Blood-enough. Shunned, scorned, carrying my proboscis at a deflected 45-degree angle, I slunk from the court. I appealed to my friend the prince, but all he said was... That's all he said. Things went from bad to worse. My pamphlet on Noseology no longer supported me. My portrait was sent back from the royal galleries, and finally, in utter defeat, I returned home to live with Papa. I am home, Father.
Yes, my son.
Father, I'm a failure in Noseology.
I know, my son.
But why, Father? Why?
Sit down, my boy.
Yes.
That's better. My son.
Yes, Father.
You have learned a sad truth about life.
Yes, but what truth, Father?
You have learned that a man with a nose more conspicuous than others can be a lion among men until he overshoots his mark, as you have overshot yours.
Yes, but how, Father?
My boy, all men have noses, but the Elector of Blood-enough has no nose at all. And with such, there's no competing.
Oh.